Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one given. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Getting Yash and Geetu Mohandas together for a project is as unlikely as getting Salman Khan and Anurag Basu to collaborate with each other in a tender love story. The fact that these two worlds collided itself was a shocker. If you rewind, no matter what you think about the sequel of KGF, Yash as Rocky Bhai was the talk of the town. When you in subsequent years see the acclaim that Allu Arjun has received with Pushpa and what Ranveer Singh is receiving with Dhurandhar, it's right up there with everyone being curious about what's going to be Yash's next big move. Yash has stated in interviews that he has been interacting with Geetu Mohandas all the way back since 2019. The assumption of most industry folk post the massive success of KGF 2 was that this collab may just not work out. I mean, why would a director responsible for compelling, nuanced and understated films like The Liar's Dice and Muthon randomly get the opportunity to direct a full-blown masala movie with the biggest star, at least at that time in the country? But the movie materialized and the journey of it releasing in 2026 has been nothing short of arduous, with multiple changes in the original cast, scheduling issues, huge delays, and a budget that has ballooned up to a reported size of 600 crores. Remember this, it's only reported. The perception of the audience went from curiosity to slight skepticism. I mean, I respect the risk Yash is taking. He's not piggybacking off of just doing KGF 3, but as more and more posters have dropped, my worry for this film grew exponentially. What is rumored to be believed is that the movie is set in the era from the 50s to the 70s, either in Mumbai or in Goa, where drugs, crime and glamour are in plenty. I think with Raya's introduction, the setting seems to be in Goa, even though the number plate of the car that crashes is GDD, that may insinuate Daman and Diu, but I think I may be reading too much into it. Let's just assume that this is Goa. Moving on, seeing especially the manner in which the female actors have been designed and styled, and whenever there is something vintage that even gives you a hint of a burlesque with crime associated with it, everyone immediately thinks about the debacle that was Bombay Velvet. I don't blame them honestly, because that movie is written in the history books as one of the biggest duds, so much so that Ranbir Kapoor is reminded of it in interviews even today. But what if there was a gangster movie set in an era post-independence that is from the perspective of women? It's unique and extremely risky, and how does Yash come into the same picture? I think everyone would be naive to believe that the original idea conceived by Geetu Mohandas has not altered as the project has become bigger and bigger. As the months have passed by with the film shooting, Yash is now even credited as a co-writer to a movie that is termed as a fairy tale for adults. Is this movie just going to be a stylized version of Rocky Bhai aura farming in every frame? Or will it genuinely be something of substance and most importantly, unique and original? Let's dive deep to what we have seen in the teaser, because I cannot emphasize this enough. Yash may be doing Ramayan and his role is limited in part 1, but the double pressure of this movie as a leading man to deliver post KGF 2, and that too clashing with Dhurandhar 2, a movie that may just be the most anticipated movie of 2026, is extremely intimidating. Yash, at least from his interview, seems like a person who takes up challenges head on. But does the teaser, at least the character introduction, have events that makes the audience exponentially excited? I think partly yes and partly no. Let's talk about this further. You have to realize that the chronology that the movie has followed, at least from a marketing perspective, is essentially to do a birthday post for Yash last year that introduced us to his character and the vibe and energy of the movie. And then over the course of a few months, we have been introduced to the ladies of the universe with little to no context, but still a vibe of how they may be a bunch of performers and women of influence that also will have a tendency to get on the wrong side of law and order. While these things were still brewing, a year passed by and Yash's birthday arrives again, and now we have a full-blown character introduction of Raya, who is being played by Yash, of course. What becomes very clear to me, especially when I put into context both the teasers of Yash's character, is that it's undoubtedly going to have very provocative themes. This may just be an extension of the fairy tale for grown-ups we may be getting glimpses of, the feral and untamed nature of humans, almost like animals in the wild when let loose beyond the confines of the rules of society. What we notice is that they are essentially vowing for each other's blood and, for a lack of a better word, getting their nut off whenever needed. What I cannot deny, however, is the rocky hangover in the visuals of Toxic that I noticed with the styling, staging, costume design and dialogue delivery of Yash in this teaser. What became cemented though for me post the character introduction was that Raya just seems like Rocky with a higher libido, having just ransacked through the wardrobe of Marco. What's interesting is, if you read about what the makers have planned, is that the movie has also been simultaneously shot in English. This is a movie that is not being catered just to the confines of India, but would like to aim to market its themes to the Western audience. Think of it as an R-rated gangster film with provocative themes, and I think this is more or less what the creators are going for. However, I can't help but feel like this idea has somewhat been lost in the process because of the success of KGF 2 and the star that Yash has become, where the theatrics take over what the soul initially may have been. I know I'm jumping the gun, but I couldn't help but feel like the visuals of the Raya introduction at least seemed derivative of themes we have already seen in action movies rather than something novel. Even the editing pattern is designed in a way which we have seen in a movie like KGF. Add to it when you have a music composer like Ravi Basroor also lending his expertise, you can't help but feel like it's an extension of a universe you have already visited. Yash in both of his introductions really likes to get rough with the opposite sex, and I feel like this is an extension of the fantasies we will be introduced to that will really have some controversial themes. The shock value is intense because I'm telling you, in a country like India, to have one of your first teasers where you are essentially doing it explicitly is a huge risk, because these themes in a conservative country like ours really does divide audiences. If you're taking me to this intense world, I'm down to see it. I just wonder whether there will be a backlash on just how in your face some of the visuals are. No holds barred is an understatement. I know very well if this was a Hindi movie and featured a Hindi film star, the news channels and the boycott gangs would be up in arms about Sabhyata and Sanskriti brushed ho rahi hai nonsense immediately. One of my reservations with the movie is the use of foreign actors, especially when I do see the dialogue delivery in the character introduction of Raya. Commercial Indian movies often suffer from terrible foreign actors who make you chuckle rather than fear their intimidating presence. I hope the casting of these foreign actors really hits home, especially if they are playing prominent gang leaders in the film. I say this because I last year saw a bloody engaging show like Mobland, and if this can deliver a sliver of that intensity and brutal psychological and physical warfare, I am so down. The slow motion shots post-coitus commences as Raya aura farms, and just like the KGF Chapter 2 trailer, the first lines to utter out of his mouth are English dialogues. Daddy's home. That immediately made me think about Randy Orton's Daddy's Back. You know, the violence is going to be brutal, the sexual themes are going to be intense and maybe controversial, but most importantly, just the cast involved, the scale at which this movie is being made, the sheer pressure involved. I hope it's more than just the style that the frames offer. I hope it's a gang war that's genuinely intriguing, and most importantly, that Yash's character has something deeper to offer than just casually walking in slow motion with a Tommy gun in one hand and a cigar in the other. I say this because we've seen that already. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the Toxic character introduction of Raya. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.